Right, so where are we going again? We've brought me to the Peak District, which is very nice.
It is very nice, mate. We are on our way to the River Derwent.
Okay, and what on earth are we doing in the River Derwent?
We are going to be doing a bit of fly fishing, going after some grayling.
Fishing's not my sport, mate. I like walking, you know that.
Right, well, we can walk in at the river, maybe down the bank a little bit. And to be honest, mate, if we get this car stuck down this road, you might be walking on.
We're going to the middle of nowhere, aren't we?
Yeah.
This is the place, is it? Well, this is a rare treat.
It is a rare treat.
Not usually in the nice English countryside.
Right, well, this is going to be a graceful entry. So here we go, down on the arse.
It's not quite the Nile, but you know.
It ain't quite the Nile, is it? But it is very beautiful, mate.
It's lovely.
Knock it, can you? So if we go set ourselves up here, mate. So right on cue, mate, we got the rain.
And this rain's early, mate. You promised there was going to be no rain till the afternoon.
Yeah, well, I'm not too good with my numbers, mate. But on rain, mate, what was the most miserable training exercise you ever did?
I mean, Sennybridge is always a banker, isn't it? For rain, I mean.
Yeah.
I don't know. I did actually. I spent like 6 weeks in the jungle in Belize, and it didn't stop raining, but it was amazing. I loved it. I think just being in the jungle and like being in a totally different environment was just really cool, I thought.
Was that your first time in the jungle?
I think first time properly, like, you know, immersed in that environment, yeah.
So where's the most kind of like mind-blowing jungle that you've been to?
I think Central America, Belize, Mexico, and I mean the Amazon's obviously incredible as well.
Right.
But it's different. I mean, Belize it's like secondary jungle, so a lot of Belize, it's sort of like new growth, and it's kind of hard to get through, but just like living in that environment, you've got like tarantulas in your boots, you know, all that stuff, and leeches, and
I got leeches in here, mate, apparently.
yeah. What about you? What was the grimmest exercise? Digging in?
Cambrian Patrol, mate.
Yeah.
Cambrian Patrol.
It's always Wales, isn't it?
It's always Wales, yeah. Yeah, it's always Wales. Because I had no idea what was going on. I just recently joined like the reserves.
Yeah.
And they were like, right, you're going on to Cambrian Patrol. You know, when you're just that age, you just volunteer for everything. I'm like, all right, sound. Next thing I knew, you know, I remember we'd just tab in with all the kit on. We had NBC kit on.
Yeah.
The boots were just flapping around everywhere. I'm pretty much crying at my respirator. It was miserable when I did it again the next year because, you know, got told to do it, but that was fun.
And here we are standing in the rain.
And we are
yet
standing
again.
in the river, mate. But you know what? It's different when it's by choice, isn't it? There's something about it.
Spent the last 15 years traveling around the world, and it's been incredible. And I think a lot of it is just when I left, I was just determined not to sort of go and sit in an office, really. And so all my travels and stuff have been a way of spending time in the outdoors and doing things I enjoy. But it's, you know, it's not easy. I mean, I don't know how you found it when you left, but I think that, you know, you're suddenly out of an environment where you've got a routine, you've got your mates who you can rely on for anything, and then you're out into the big wide world.
I mean, I think it's maybe a bit different for me because I did the reserves, and then it was just these periods of like a few years, and then home for a few months, and then you know. But like certainly when it comes to like the mental health side of things, I mean, I'm not even trying to fish at the moment. I'm just quite happy standing in a river, and it's if you had told me like 20 years ago what will make you happy is just being outside. It's not raining now at least, but just get outside. I think that's it, actually, just get outside. Think about it, just being on stag is essentially a form of mindfulness.
It's meditation.
Yeah,
meditation.
Exactly. It's like, hey, you're welcome. Civvies will pay thousands for this, and it's true. It's 2 hours of meditation.
It really is true.
In the morning.
Civvies really, you know, really enjoy it and love being in that mindset. So I was guiding groups of paying clients to go and climb mountains, cross deserts, go into the jungle, and it was really rewarding because you kind of forget, you know, the experiences that we got in the military that we kind of probably took for granted. You know, people love it. I think one of the best bits about what I do is the fact that I still get to work with quite a few veterans, because I've built a team with my production company that is, you know, mainly veterans. You know, my business partner is a bloke I went to Sandhurst with.
But how much of that as well is like, I mean, it's one thing being around veterans, right? But how much of it is it like almost kind of like the bigger the challenge you set for yourself with that team? Is that a big part of it?
No, it is. I mean, you know, we're sort of accustomed, aren't we, to pushing ourselves and to...
Oh, mate, you've caught something.
Almost. There was a bite there. It was definitely a bite.
Definitely a bite.
What about you? What's I mean, you're still quite tapped into all the military networks, and you did the reserves for a while, didn't you? Yeah,
well, I think for me, mate, like obviously the writing is predominantly about war and veterans.
Yeah.
The podcast obviously is, you know, it's all veterans. I can't imagine it any other way, to be honest. Like at this point, I think it would be. It's obviously part of the civilian world, publishing and stuff, but I can't imagine not wanting to write about soldier stories. Essentially, you know, that's what I get to do. You know, I have a great excuse. I think that's one of the things. Even though I'm working my own, obviously, a pretty lonely job, as you know, like doing the writing. You know, I have an excuse every week to get on the phone and speak to veterans.
Well, that's what I really enjoyed about the book we wrote together, Escape from Kabul, was actually the opportunity to just interview loads of veterans, different walks of life, different nationalities.
Yeah, and it's great. I feel like I know far more now about the army than I did when I was in it.
When you're in it.
Because you speak to all these different regiments, and like, I spoke to a bloke from the RAF regiment the other day, which, you know, we have a bit of banter, and he's such a top bloke, and you think like, what, you know, why did we have all that rivalry? But I think when you're in, you need it, you know.
Yeah.
It's part of it. Hang on.
Of course, each other, mate. Oh dear.
God. I could see
Catch
that.
of the day, mate.
I could see that happening. You caught yourself a big hunky Welshman, mate. Congratulations.
So were you always a good writer, Gez, or like when did you sort of take this up?
Well, first of all, thank you for insinuating that I am now a good writer. No, it's so I think it's one of those like yourself, mate. Like I've just always been a reader.
Yeah.
And before you be a writer, you've got to be a reader. It's one of the common like problems I see with people asking me. They say they want to read the book. How do I go about reading the book? It's like, well, first of all, how much do you read?
Yeah.
You know, because it's like fishing, mate. Clearly, we got a bit of work to do here. But I think if we spent a bit of time, you know, studying the people who are the best at it, you know. So I think reading is really kind of what gave you the foundation. It's like anything, mate. If you want to make a career of it, you've got to work hard at it. But I do feel incredibly lucky to be able to do it. Like it's very, I think, especially like the last two books, the World War II books. Kind of to my shame, I didn't realise. Like I think, like a lot of people, I kind of had an idea that the Second World War, you know, towards the latter stages there was D-Day, there was Arnhem, the war finished. You know, and then like to find out about how much fighting was involved day in, day out, all different regiments, mate, all different cap badges, and that I think that's when it really clicked to me. Like, oh my God, I'm so lucky to be able to do this as a job. But I think it's one of those things, you know, a bit like soldiering, right? When you were a kid, was there any doubt in your mind that you wanted to be a soldier?
No, always. I mean, my dad was a soldier, my granddad was a soldier, his dad was a soldier, so for me it was in the family genes, I think.
So I feel exactly that. Same with probably the exploring as well, right?
Yeah.
There's that thing called the explorer's gene.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. I think some of us are just hardwired into wanting to get out and see the world. And that's the thing, what I found having left the military is not enough veterans go into the creative industries, and they should consider it, because there's so many, you know, decent men and women out there who've got a talent for it. And actually, having been in the military, you've got great stories, and you know you're kind of naturally accustomed to storytelling, and that's what it's all about. It's not just the getting out and doing it, but it's how you communicate that. We're not having much luck here, are we?
Right, Lev.
What do you reckon?
I think we move on a bit, mate.
All right.
You know, I think we fished this place out, mate.
I don't think there's any in there, to be honest.
I don't think so, mate.
So what is it that you love most about fishing? Do you think it's that sense of like peace that you get just being away from the madness of the world?
I think a big part of it, mate, is a singular focus. And I think getting to do something, whether it's lifting weights, gym, you know, or fishing or running or whatever it is that gets you focused in on just one task.
Yeah.
I think that's like really important, mate, to kind of take your mind off it. The setting obviously is pretty epic. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to test this part today, but when you do get a fish, there is like that little bit of a thrill about it as well. I mean, do you find this peaceful?
I do. It's just nice being out in nature and being in the countryside, isn't it?
Yeah.
You don't really appreciate it when you're serving, when you're getting rained on in a forestry block in Wales, do you? But there's a lot to be said for just being in the outdoors and focusing on that one thing, like you say.
Well,
I mean, what would you say the hardest challenge you faced is having left the military?
Well, I think, like, say, a lot of us, like the kind of Iraq, Afghan generation, maybe, you know, you might be 19, 20 years old, go out on those deployments, come back, and then that might be it. There might be no more deployments. And even if there was, at some point, there's not going to be any more, right? And if you've always wanted to be a lawyer, you will have that once you've, you know, passed the bar and everything. You can go on and do that until you retire, right? Whereas, like, we wanted to do something that has a very short shelf life. So it's trying to find something then that will give you that sense of purpose of, and it might never be the same total thing. Like, I love writing, mate. It doesn't give me the same total fullness as being a soldier on operations did. And the reason I kind of got back into fishing was I started asking myself, like, well, what were the kind of things of, you know, people talk about finding your inner child again. What are the kind of things that made me happy when I was a kid? Not many, turns out, but fishing was one of them. And I think that, like, that's something that we can do a lot of the time is, like, you know, you don't necessarily have to find new answers. It's like, well, what were the things you were doing before that worked? And for a lot of us, yeah, it might be playing army in the woods or whatever, but it is, you know, that getting outdoors. And you can't replace what the army is. You can't replace what operations are. And if you try and do that, you're always going to fail, because there is no... You can't replace that moment of time when you were a young bloke surrounded by young blokes who were nutcases and just had the funniest time. You can't replace that. So I think you have to come to an acceptance that those times are gone and they ain't coming back again. And it's almost like, I think maybe even like the same as like grief, when you're grieving for losing someone. I think you almost have to go through a bit of grieving for who you were as that person, and just accept that you have to grow into a new person. Because, as you know, like a lot of people, mate, I've tried all the wrong ways of replacing it, and it doesn't get you anywhere. And I think you just have to accept that at some point you're not going to reach the highs of being in combat with your mates again.
The hardest bit, I think, for a lot of people, in you know, having met a lot of and interviewed a lot of veterans like you have for books and for stories, is that loss of identity. Because you build this identity, like you say, in your 20s, which is a pretty defining time in your life when you're trying to figure out who you are, and you're surrounded by similar people with a similar mindset doing the same job. And that builds not just a great team, but it forms and shapes ultimately who you are. And there is no way to replace that, you're absolutely right. But I think it's just taking some of the lessons that you've learned and taking that the mindset, all the positive things, and applying it to whatever you want to do next. And I think it's just taking ownership, isn't it? And having a bit of the penny drop moment. I think it is like you get to choose who you want to be, and like cherry pick all the good things that you've learned from your time in service and apply them to whatever you do next. I've worked with a lot of veterans charities, and a lot of people are quite reluctant to ask for help,
right,
support, because like you say, it doesn't fit the brand. That's not how you're trained. But when you've put the time in, I think we all deserve to sort of get the support we need sometimes, and there's no shame in asking for it.
No, absolutely not. I mean, it's just, it's like that whole thing of like, you know, you got on an exercise and you find yourself going down or something, you know, if you graze it out, you could end up becoming more of a detriment to everybody else. And there's no shame in asking for help in those situations. It's the right thing to do for the team. And I think it's the same thing in civilian life, you know. If you're struggling with whatever it is, you might think, oh, I could just push this down, or I'll just get on with me bad knees or whatever, and like nobody's gonna know about it. But I think like asking for help, it feels like quite a selfish thing to do sometimes, but it's actually quite a selfless thing.
I think so.
Obviously, like doing the books on the Second World War, I listened to hundreds of interviews with World War II veterans. And I think one of the things about like maybe our generation is we always felt like, oh, I'm not allowed to have problems and stuff because Grandad never had any, so who am I to have problems? But actually listening to these interviews, they also, almost all of them, talk about struggling to fit in when they got home, struggling to fit back into civilian jobs, struggling to switch off from that military mentality. A lot of them obviously had ailments. Like, mate, there's people who were on, I spoke to one bloke, he was in a turret of HMS Belfast off Sword Beach. You know, part of that, probably one of the greatest bombardments in history. So he's in the turret with all these guns, I forget the size of it, I think 15-inch guns. And for air defense and stuff, they were given like bits of cotton wool, you know,
beeswax.
They had blood, you know, blood running out their nose from the pressure and things. And a lot of these blokes had issues, and a lot of them, you know, after the war would try and go, yes, this kind of the help, but or just kind of put up with it. But their lives were made harder by it. But I think from those interviews, hearing people say, yeah, I struggled with identity, I struggled with missing the blokes, I struggled with all those stuff, I think that has kind of helped me think, because you think, that makes you think then, no, it's actually nothing, it's not so much.
Yeah, there shouldn't be a stigma attached.
It's not that there's anything wrong with it. It almost, in a way, it's like, that's just the rite of passage of being a soldier.
Of course it is.
And when you think about it, like how intense an experience it is, particularly, say, being on operations and things, the idea that you could come out of it the same person you are as on the other, going into it is an absurd one in the first place.
And I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned is just being vulnerable and like opening yourself up to being helped by other people. And it, you know, if you coming from a background in the paras where you're sort of, you know, you're sort of indoctrinated a little bit to be proud and to, you know, be self-sustaining and look after yourself and your own team. Actually, there's loads of people out there that are willing to help out if you're just prepared to ask the right questions.
Do you find as well, as an officer, do you think you get, like, do you think that there's any difference in how you've, kind of when you've gone and approached people, do you find like, that's come from like other, you know, former other ranks, you know, other
I think honestly, when you leave, all that stuff goes out the window. It certainly did with me. I was like, you just don't even see rank, to be honest. I mean, there's still a bit of an old boys network out there, and we have like, you know, I'm still mates with all my other platoon commanders from the paras. But to be honest, like some of the most inspiring people I've met in the veterans community aren't necessarily officers. They're people who've just put themselves out there, created businesses, created organisations, charities, and you know, it really doesn't matter what rank you were, what you did in the military. I think it's just the fact that there is that family network that exists out there, and we may as well all embrace it and be a part of it.
Yeah, because I feel like sometimes I'll get, I was just and it's just, mate, drop the just.
People are quite like, self-deprecating.
Exactly. Yeah, mate, like, oh, I was just on BRF on Herrick, whatever. It's, mate, it's like, that's, you know, I think you're just being in the forces in itself, you've already shown
and honestly, people just don't really care.
Right,
left, right? People don't care how many tours you've done, where you served, what you did, what rank you were, how many medals you've got. You know, the more important thing is just embracing that veterans family and being a part of it, and not shying away from asking for help when you need it. Yeah.
Speaking of asking for help when you need it, should we
get in the pub?
I think so.
I think we get out. Yeah, we're not going to catch anything, are we?
Hey, that's why they call it fishing, not catching.